Live and direct, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode and rendition of Monday Night Live, the place where we come together each week to talk, discuss, and go over leadership principles to help you not just with your life, but also with your business. And this week, I'm real excited. Of course, I'm alongside Dr. Natalie Forrest. And Dr. Forrest, there's a couple things that I'm real pumped up about. One, I'm excited because I know that this week, we have a real eclectic, unique group of experts. I mean, I find myself saying that almost every week, but it's true because each week we bring people from all over the world to discuss a powerful leadership principle. Today, we're going to be talking about the art of collaboration and why collaboration does have an art. I look at it as much of an art as it is a science. And whether it's strategic partnerships in business or whether it's collaborating with people in life, this is such an important distinction to discuss. But before we go there, Dr. Forrest, quick housekeeping note. You and I have been doing this show now for several months, and we've been doing it at the same time, at the same place. But we actually have a change that we'd like to quickly announce. Of course, Monday Night Live is no more. We're not getting canceled, ladies and gentlemen, but we are just changing couple of the logistics of the show. So moving forward, we're actually going to be the name of the show, this very same program, the same concept is now just going to be called Leadership Live. And we're going to be here at 1 p.m. By way of our live stream. And of course, our replay is always available on demand on Roku TV. And Dr. Forrest, with that being said, how excited are you to talk with our group of experts this week on this network?
I'm loving the topic. I love the experts because they all can talk about collaboration. And as you said, it's so important in respect to being a leader. I think part of it, and I hope I'm not going to take the thunder from anybody in the room, you can only collaborate if you know who you are and if you understand your mission and your purpose. And we clearly have a group of people who are joining us today who know their purpose, who are on a mission, and part of that is to make a global impact. So it's really exciting to have this group here, and I can't wait to hear what they all have to say today.
Absolutely, you are absolutely right. And with that being said, let's go ahead and roll in this eclectic, unique, and dynamic group of people from all around the world. Wow, what a remarkable eclectic group of folks. I mean, of course, I see we have Ori Spado, who's a two-time best-selling author of this book, The Accidental Gangster. And although it is true, he was a former associate of the Colombo crime family, today he's no longer a gangster. He's a reformed gangster, a reformed member of the mafia, helping keep the youth out of trouble. We have the author of Life on Your Terms, Rex Sykes, who's been in personal development for about 40 years and has really earned the reputation as being, one of the senior most people in the leadership space. And everyone else here, of course, Ms. Colleen Biggs, Albert, Michelle, who's become a regular here, and Jeremy, who many of you know as the host of his very own show that is available on this network as well. Of course, I like to just call him the Alchemist, but we'll call him Jeremy for short. And let's go ahead and kick the ball off with Rex. Rex, when it comes to this art of collaborating, the art of collaboration, partnerships, working with people, in your experience, how important is the art of collaboration to be successful in life and successful in business? Rex Steven Sykes, the floor is yours.
It's a great question, Mo. It really is a great question because it's vitally important. Absolutely important. And if we go back to the work of Napoleon Hill, who pretty much coined the word mastermind, which is bandying around quite a bit today, the idea is that people would collaborate, they would get together, they would work in harmony toward a particular vision, and that there would be people with different talents and abilities coming together, and then one person would oversee that, make sure that they work together in harmony so that there wasn't any discord, because discord certainly would not be desirable, and they would actually eject somebody if they were in discord from the group, because exponentially the power of a bunch of minds working together over one particular purpose has so much greater reach, so much greater value, so much greater power than a single person working alone. So if there's anything you or I or anyone on the panel or anyone watching wants to accomplish, if you find the right team and you have the right mindset, you can accomplish what seems to be miracles. That is the power of collaboration.
Thank you for that, Rex. I want to give the floor to Ori Spado. Ori, how important is it in life to have collaborators, to have partnerships, to have, friends that we, work with in business, work with in life? Please, the floor is yours.
Well, no matter what you do in life, you need to be collaborating with other people. Even in my old life, you had to collaborate on other people, be able to count on them. But, I want to talk about the entertainment business and here in Hollywood, okay? Which making a film or a TV show is a huge collaboration, okay? Nothing is done by one person, okay? And if you go to a movie theater, and at the end of the theater, you watch the credits start to roll. Now, out here in Hollywood, people sit in the theaters because most of the people work in Hollywood and have something to do. You have no idea how many different parts it takes to make a film or a TV show. It takes hundreds of people. So you got to be able to collaborate. Everybody's got to be on the same page. And as long as everybody does their job properly, everything comes together nicely. That's all I got to say.
Well, that's a lot right there, because I think you're so right.
Go ahead, Nadia.
No, it's okay. I think you're so right, because I think it was the author of The Little Prince who said, if you want to build a ship, you don't assemble it all yourself, but you help other people to assemble the ship by dividing out the tasks. And so, it is crucial. We always forget how many people are helping to put something together. And since we're talking about putting things together, I want to ask Colleen. You may remember Colleen. She was at our women's empowerment event about a month ago now. And she was talking also about collaboration. Colleen, I know, is a big collaborator. What are your thoughts on collaboration, and why does it matter so much to you, Colleen?
First of all, I want to thank Rex and Ori for those words, because for me, it's the masters of the mind. I read Think and Grow Rich every morning. It's a Bible, right? I read it over and over again. And it's not what you know as much as who you know these days. And it always has been. And I really feel that's why I've built my company on collaboration, because the more we collaborate versus compete with each other, all boats rise together. So we're all able to be more successful in the world of collaboration if we just bond together and know that we each bring our own unique flair to what it is that we do. So we're really not in competition with anyone else, right? Every actress has their own flair. Every author has their own flair of the way they write. And it's really no different for me and my women's organization, because there's hundreds of women's organizations out there. So what I stand for, what I teach, and what my values and integrity are may be different than someone else's. So collaboration is really what brings you forward quicker at an accelerated pace.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just going to ask Albert, because you're right now in the middle of my screen, and we keep moving people around just, to keep it interesting. Albert, collaboration. In your line of work, how important is collaboration for the success of everybody?
Collaboration is you have to work together. See, everybody in this world will hit a roadblock. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you're Indian chief, ditch digger, doing accounting, doesn't matter. Clubhouse person, you're going to hit a roadblock. So everybody needs to work together. And what collaboration does is when you hit that wall and you're working with somebody, or it's not even working with somebody anymore, it's working with many people. Always being a person, not being the chief in the village, but building a community and people working for the one goal, the one thing. And wherever you're working on, you got to collaborate, because that's where new ideas come forward. When you start thinking, because the person's going to push you and you're going to say, duh, or ding, 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 the light bulb's going to come off and it's going to happen. And thank everybody for having me on. It's pretty an honor and a privilege. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's go. I'm going to do my eeny, miny, mo. I think I'm going to go to Jeremy. And that's just because I know Jeremy is also big on collaborating. And I want to save Michelle, who's been with us, because she, of course, knows the power of collaboration. Jeremy, talk to us about collaboration. I know you're the storytelling alchemist. So how important is collaboration in what you do?
Well, for me, it's vital. And I honestly think in any organization, it's vital. I don't think you can have a successful business or event or whatever it is you're planning without collaboration. I just heard recently, and I thought it was a really powerful statement, stop trying to be a solopreneur because you're not doing a good job of it. And it's a blunt statement, but it's the truth. I mean, it's like, for my business in particular, I'm sure it's like this for everybody else's. I can't be the social media manager, the videographer, the coach, the editor of my books. If I did try to be the editor of my books, I'd probably do a really bad job of it. And so there's one of the things, that's why you have people that help you that are a part of your team. And that's one of the things that managers and entrepreneurs really have to start seeing. If you don't have a team collaborating with you and creating a synergy, you're not going to have as successful of a business. And so I think it's vital to any organization. And I personally couldn't run my business without it. Matter of fact, I was just at the Gathering of Wisdom Keepers this weekend in North Carolina, Hot Springs, North Carolina. And if you ever get a chance to go into Hot Springs, please do it. It's like one of the best experiences you'll ever have. But the collaboration that came from this weekend and the ideas that came from this weekend and the continuation of what was started this weekend, I'm hoping is going to really affect a lot of people. And that's what we're all about, right? Is affecting and creating change in the world and breeding new leaders in the world. And so that's going to be done through collaboration. And that's all I have to say so far. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome. And we'll definitely talk more about the importance of collaboration as we move forward. But I want to give it. I knew this would happen. This is magic. Now Michelle is in the middle of my screen. I was waiting for that. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
I love this topic. When I first started building a sales team over 10 years ago, I got really comfortable in learning about different personality types and how we need all of these different personality types to have a functional organization. So whatever type of business you have, whatever it is, you want to have that synchronicity of the flow. So I was taught all of us needs each of us. Each of us needs all of us. And so there were 4 main personality types that I learned. So there's the person that is like the money and like the sparkly things driven, right? There's the person that wants to save the whales. There's the person that wants to have fun, like they're not coming unless it's going to be fun. And there's the person that like numbers and facts really lights them up. So from my perspective, those were the 4 personality types that really can drive an organization. And you want each of these personality types in your organization. You want the collaboration of all the personality types to have a fully functional and abundant. I also was taught whichever one triggers you is the one you need in your life. So if it's that friend that's always fun, having like, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, can we get to business? You know, like you need that personality type in your business though, because they will attract those type of people in your business. They will attract that fun portion. Or if it's the save the whales person, you know, like you want that higher perspective, higher vision, higher motivated person in your business. You literally want each piece, all the personality types. I think they're all so important. If you have any business, which is a people business, which all of them are. So collaboration is huge. I think it's the key to success in anybody's business.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And I'm real excited that everyone got a chance to chime in. Let's take it up a notch now, ladies and gentlemen, and start going into some nitty gritties. Okay, I'm gonna start off by pointing out that if you have not yet read this book, The Accidental Gangster, I highly recommend you go get it. It's available on Ori's website, theaccidentalgangster.com. And from my understanding, if you purchase it today, he will know you got it from this program, and he'll sign it for free and send you an audiobook for free as well. So theaccidentalgangster.com. Now, it's apropos because my next question, Ori, is I'm going to start it off with you, and we're going to roll through each of our wonderful guests. Ori, we're talking about collaboration. You can't collaborate with anybody and everybody that wants to collaborate with you. There's not enough hours in the day. If I were here, if I had an open door policy, I'd spend my life just talking to people that wanted to collaborate with me. I'm sorry, I can't do that. So I have to, first of all, carefully pick and choose. But secondly, Ori, I have to collaborate with someone that I trust. I have to collaborate with someone that I know is not going to backstab me, not try to take advantage of me. I have to collaborate with somebody that I know is not just trying to use me for whatever reason. You, Ori, are a gentleman that has been in situations in which 99% of the human populace would not have made it out alive. And if you've read this book, and if you know who Ori Spado is, you know what I just said has zero hyperbole attached to it. And yet you have not only survived many different circumstances in your life, you've thrived. And so what you know is who to trust and who not to trust. This is a knack that you have. What I'd like to do is I'd like to tap into that knack so our viewers can develop that ability so they can use it for their life, use it for their business, use it for positive things, use it for the good that we want to do around the world. And so, Ori, what's your secret on knowing who to trust, knowing who not to trust? What warning signs do you look out for? And just share this gift you have with our audience. The floor is yours, Ori Spado.
Well, Mo, to trust somebody is a very big thing. For me, to trust somebody is a much bigger thing because I got to the point in my life I didn't trust anybody except my children. But, my gut instinct has always served me well, particularly on the streets or in the life, as I call it. But sometimes it's wrong too. And that's going to happen in business. And those are the chances that we have to take. You're going to make a decision. And like the gentleman said, no matter how good we are, we're all going to make a mistake sometime. But if we're smart enough to learn from that mistake, and as I normally phrase it, I phrase it like I'm in battle, I'm on a battlefield, and I got to win the battle. You got to win the battles before you can win the war. So, if collaboration and having somebody you count on is an enormous task, it's almost like having a partner. I organize a lot of things today. I'm a strategist. I strategize about things. I analyze the things out. Okay. And, these could be national things that I do on a daily basis. Where, how, who, I got to put it all together. And it's all got to go together in my head. And, everybody talks about mindset. I'm going to assume that everybody here, we're here because everybody has a mindset. We're not learning to get it because, as we all know, having a mindset is a second nature to us. Okay? Because we learned it.
So Ori, what I want to ask is, how do you test somebody to see if they're a trustworthy person or not? Real quick, then we're going to go to Colleen. Ori, give us a tool, a technique, something that you used, whether it was on the streets, whether it was in business. How do you know who you can trust and who you can't trust? Give it raw, give it real, Ori. Go ahead.
Okay. On the streets, when somebody is telling you that somebody else is an informant, that's the informant. You follow me there?
Now, how can we metaphorically apply this in business?
Okay. In business, you want to collaborate with somebody. You got a job you want to delegate to Albert over here. Okay? And the best way to do it is tell Albert, this is between us. Here's what you got to do. Don't tell anybody. And then the moment you hear back from it, he told somebody.
Interesting. See, these are the gems that you're only going to get on a program like this. Now, I want to take it to Colleen Biggs, and we have such an eclectic and diverse and unique group of folks here. Colleen, when it comes to collaborating, what is it that you look for as to whether or not you make that decision or not? I mean, of course, we have our practical reasons and we have that intuitive, our own intuition, but speak a little bit on what that process is like for you. Colleen, go ahead.
I think there's a few things, and thank you for asking me, Mo, because I'm happy to share some of the mistakes I've made in collaboration and some of the things that have been the correct choices to move me forward. So the first thing we have to look out is we can't collaborate with everybody, right? So the one main thing I look for is, do I trust this person? Are they aligned with me in their integrity? And the third piece is this person going to be able to move me forward, right? Am I wasting my time, or are they truly going to be able to help me collaborate to get a return? So that's the goal, because essentially, if we just collaborate with everyone that's out there, we wind up wasting our time a lot. And I see this with female entrepreneurs, because I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs, and they want to serve and they want to give. Well, here's the real problem. You can serve and give all day long. It's not going to make you a millionaire. If you're out here to have revenue and be able to drive revenue, then you need to be looking at the opportunities and the people to align yourself with that are going to actually help you get where you need to go. So who are those people that you need to mastermind with to put in your path that's going to help you elevate to the next level? By helping you elevate to the next level, you help them elevate to the next level. And I think that's the one piece that we forget. For some reason, females seem to think if I'm getting something from this, I am being selfish. You're not being selfish. If you're getting something from it, it's probably because you're giving in service. Those two will be elevated during the time that you're serving. So those are the pieces I really look for: trust, integrity, and what am I going to get for in return of this collaboration and working with someone else.
You're absolutely right, Colleen. You're absolutely right. And I would love to hear Michelle's take on this. Michelle McClain, where are you with this conversation? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I love what Colleen said. And I would have to agree also with Ori that it has a lot to do with feeling it, like that gut feeling we have the majority of time. We have that ability to feel it out. You can kind of, we get that initial gut feeling about somebody, not always is it on point, but 99% of the time I would say it is on point. And I would say, at what level do you collaborate? Because in my experience, it's collaborating on smaller things first, and then being willing, like a marriage, kind of like dating first. How's this dating gonna go? How does this feel? How has the first couple dates gone? Do we want to go to the next level? So I also think it's that dating process with a potential business partner, a potential someone you're going to collaborate with. It's practicing first, like, okay, how does this? Let's dance a little bit here, and then then let's go to the next level and see. So I think it's kind of like, maybe it's like a clubhouse room. You collaborate there together, right? And maybe it's like leveling, practicing, really seeing somebody in different environments, how they are, how they present themselves. Are they the same person in this experience as another experience? Or is it kind of, oh, well, they were a little bit different when it was just one-on-one, and now they're a little different now when we're in this like clubhouse room, or they're a little different here. So also, looking for those red flags. Is somebody in alignment with what they say, what they do? How are they showing up? I think those are all really important keys to keep in mind.
Incredible. Thank you so much for that, Michelle. And of course, Ashley is saying, taking notes. Thank you, Michelle and Colleen. Awesome. I'm curious, Rex, what your thoughts are on this subject matter. And I know, Rex, you've really collaborated with so many people over the course of your 40-plus long career, both as a trainer and an author and a speaker, and also as a film producer and actor, et cetera, because you kind of have a dual career where you've spent decades working on motion pictures and working in the personal development industry. So you've collaborated with so many people. And what are the signs that you look for, Rex, when it comes to that filtering process of who you work with versus who you simply don't work with? Rex, the floor is yours.
Well, that's a great question, and I'd like to go back or step back a little bit. I have trained and worked with law enforcement, DEA, hostage negotiators, attorneys, jury consultants, and in learning how to actually calibrate, for lack of a better term, truthfulness from lying. But We don't have enough time to go into all that, but I would like to point out there are some things that you can do. You know, a polygraph machine or a lie detector is not admissible in a court of law, and in some ways for good reason, because what the polygraph machine does is it measures certain parameters. It measures breath, it measures moisture on the skin, it measures pulse rate. And what happens is the administrator of the tests does a couple of things, and then it's interpreted. He or she asks baseline questions that they know the answer to. So, for example, they have a gentleman in being seated, and they're hooked up to the machine. They'll say, "You are a man, correct, or a male? You identify as a male nowadays, I guess you'd have to say." The person says yes, and then the machine goes off. If they know for a fact that the person's name is Bob, for example, saying you are Bob, and the machine goes yes. They say, "We're here in this room, and you're wired up with a polygraph machine." And the person says yes. So they go through and they set what we would call a yes set, where they know what the yes looks like on the graph by basically answering questions. You know, we're in this room and the ceiling is painted blue. And if in fact it is, and the person says yes, it is, then they know that they're answering truthfully. Then they lay down lies, like the ceiling is yellow. The person says no. So they know what a no looks like. You're a female, and he says no. And they know what your name is Shirley, and he says no. And they know what the no looks like. And then they say, well, on the day of January 2nd, were you at such and such a place? And they notice what happens with the machine, so that they can then, when it's all over, they can evaluate whether this person appeared to be truthful or lying. And to the degree that the administrator is good at interpreting things and reading the polygraph and setting baselines that are honest, to the degree that it's useful. But because there's an art to it, it's not admissible as a science in a court of law. That said, you and I, doing exactly what I just said, can set up a baseline for other people by saying, "Oh, hi, here we are at Starbucks, and we're having coffee, and today we're meeting, and Bob, your name is Bob, right? Yeah, well, I'm Rex, and here we are, and we're going to be talking about this topic." So now all I'm doing at that time is I'm setting a yes frame to find out how they respond. And what you should know about people is whenever they answer a question, they answer non-verbally, 100% non-verbally, within a half a second after being asked the question. So what you need is clear, clean sensory systems to be able to look at, hear, and experience what answers are coming to you. And if you get really good at this, which is what I train, but if you get really good at this, you can calculate fairly accurately of whether someone is being truthful or not. And yes, you can use your gut as a really good indicator as well if you've trained your gut in a reliable way. But here's the thing you should know. Just like in baseball, you up your batting average. You don't ever bat 100%, but you do up your batting average. So you can really get good at assessing whether somebody's a person of worth that you want to collaborate with or not, based on the kind of responses you get back from them. But it's not one indicator; it's a bunch of different indicators that you're looking at. So you do want to get training in it, and not just shoot in the wind and run off and think, well, I'm a great lie detector, when you're not. But you can be, and people are trained to do that. And we train, like I said, DEA and law enforcement and all sorts of people to be better at this very thing. So,
and we're gonna come back, Rex, and we're gonna continue the second half of the program talking about how to do that, how to recognize these attributes. Real quick, I want to acknowledge Dr. Adrienne Laura, who just left a comment in the virtual auditorium. Of course, Dr. Laura has her own show that's going to be launching on this network very soon. She's a Harvard-trained medical physician, and we're very excited about bringing a Harvard-trained physician and allowing accessibility to the community here. So thank you, Dr. Laura. And we're actually going to take a quick 1-minute break and come back with the second half of this week's episode. Before I do that, Dr. Natalie Forrest, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the first half of today's program thus far? Dr. Forrest, please.
Well, I think we have some key issues, right? Number one, it's integrity. Number two, it's trust. And number three is, I would call it learning by experience, because it sounds like we've all been in situations where we tried to collaborate and either we were giving too much or we were too trusting. And I love the example that Rex just brought of the, you got to be able to interpret if somebody is real or not. And I think we've seen that not just in business, but also in life. Who is really going to be there for you when you need them? And I think that's partially what we're talking about.
Absolutely right. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and we'll be right back with the second half of this week's program.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We have earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
Okay, and welcome back. And Rex, you were talking about how you spent a career training people, helping people, helping DEA agents, etc., develop that skill. I want to give you the floor for you to finish your thought, and then we're going to delve into the rest of the expert panel. But Rex, please finish your thought and share a little bit about what it was you would teach these DEA agents. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, I just did, actually. I taught you that you need to calibrate. So you need to set a yes set, you need to set a no set, you need to have a break state in between so that they're not contaminated, which is the same thing that a good polygraph examiner would do. So, but you can learn to do that without a polygraph machine. You're using your eyes and your ears and your gut feelings in order to calibrate that. But it's literally calibrating, like you calibrate a machine to make sure it works right. You're calibrating another person's truthfulness versus their non-truthfulness, or whether or not they're congruent versus incongruent. And one of the things that you really want to do is you want to suspend any judgments or assumptions. What I do is I teach people to stop mind reading. So, for example, there are a lot of books on body language that'll say, well, if they're interested, they lean forward, and if they're not interested, they lean back, or they cross their arms like this if they're closed, or they sit like this if they're open. Yeah, okay. But there are people who sit like this because they're comfortable or because they're cold, and so they're using their own arms against their body in order to do that. So if you assume that everybody who sits like this with their arms across their chest, or if they're leaning back, that you're not interested. I used to talk to a guy at breakfast constantly, and he'd be looking around and doing this. I was a young kid. I was 18. We did this in the movie business, and he'd be doing this thing and looking around. And then when I was done talking, he'd go, and you know what you need to do? And he was always on point. He heard everything. But if you looked at him, you would assume that he was completely disinterested, which is what I did. I always said, this guy's not listening. He thinks I'm stupid. You want to clean up your channels. And you also want to be able to look at people and not have a conversation running in your head about what you think is going on in them. Because if you're talking to yourself about what's going on in them, you're too late. You're behind what's happening with them. So you need to learn what we call is uptime, which means you get out of your own way as much as possible so that you can just take in what's going on in another person, which means you're seeing, hearing, listening, and this is just the nonverbals. There's many other things that you want to listen for. You want to listen for word choices and change in tone and tempo and different shifts and whether they swallow, there's that stuff. But you also want to listen to all sorts of different ways that they filter information. And you can get really, really good at this stuff fairly quickly if you apply yourself to it, because it's the art of observing other people. But yet most of us, instead of observing other people, we just sit and wait to talk. So we miss all the indicators by what's going on because we're so interested in saying something else, or we're assuming something about another person instead of letting the information come to us by being open-minded.
Such a great point, Rex. So often, right now, as an example, as I'm speaking, a small percentage of people are actually listening to what I'm saying. Most people are actually analyzing, all different factors, what I'm wearing, who is this guy, where is he from, 1,000 different things, whatever the questions may be, right? So it's that inner dialogue that most people are caught up in. And with that, I want to kick it to Jeremy to see what he has to say regarding this conversation. And then Dr. Natalie Forrest is going to help us wrap up the show here in the next 20, 30 minutes while I step back. Jeremy, please, the floor is yours.
So I want to kind of touch on something Rex said when he talked about listening, and I think Stephen Covey is the one that said empathic listening, when you're literally focused not only on what the person's saying, but you're thinking about the context of what they're saying, the subtext of what they're saying, and you're really paying attention to the emotions behind what they're saying, that kind of stuff. And so if you can empathically listen, which is in his way of thinking the highest form of listening, then you can start to realize if I don't always necessarily look if this person is going to be bad for me, but I do listen for, is this person going to be aligned, as Colleen mentioned earlier, with what I'm all about, with what my mission is, and that comes from paying attention, and if you're going to be making major business decisions with somebody or collaborating with somebody, I want to know that they're going to align with who I am as a person and with my business. And I agree with Rex. I'm one of those types of people that's always looking around and listening, but then I focus in right on what they're saying. And I think that's super important. And that's something that, Michelle, I train salespeople. I've done that for over 20 years. And one of the key things that salespeople don't do is listen. They're constantly wanting to be talking. And I always say that, you have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. And so if you're wanting to look at collaborating with somebody, be quiet and actually listen to what somebody has to say. And it might not be a good collaboration, but they may spark something in you, and you may spark something in them that sends them off and their business grows. And then maybe later on down the line, you are supposed to collaborate with them. It really comes, and I think it also comes down to something Michelle mentioned earlier is, you don't have to jump right into something. And people offer and email me all the time about doing affiliate stuff for them, collaborating with them. And I'm really careful about who I collaborate with. I mean, Dr. Forrest and I are talking about collaboration together. I'm collaborating with the Los Angeles Tribune, but those relationships took a few months before I ever jumped on them. And rightfully so, because we're making business decisions for yourself and your future. So,
and I want to jump in there real quick and share with everybody, because Jeremy was talking about collaboration. And if you have not remembered, Jeremy and Donna Campbell, who also was on one of our shows and an event, where they're doing an event in Belize in November. And yes, as the Los Angeles Tribune, we're also collaborating, because you need that wherever you are, right? And as Jeremy was just pointing out, it's about trust, it's about integrity, and figuring out, is it a win-win-win, as we always like to say in the One Percenters Club, of course. Now, you mentioned sales and other things, but what I'm hearing is, starting with everybody earlier, is the idea of being present. How important is it when we're collaborating to be present? And I'm going to throw that over to Albert. How important is it for you to be present when you're working with people, collaborating, whether it's empathic listening, whether it's watching without prejudice? What are your thoughts on being present for collaboration? You're on mute. I love that. Never gets old.
You're talking to Rex or to me?
Here you go.
Albert.
Albert. Okay.
There he is.
Yeah. You have to be 100% present. Because when you're 99.9, that one little wincy piece that you might be missing could be the key that you're going to the moon, or you're going to crash land. You don't know. And people, sometimes we have a little attention deficit. We could be at an advantage. So we have to listen extra hard, because you need every ounce, every second, every word, because the deal or success could hinge on a would have, could have, and should have. Mm-hmm. And that's happened to me a bunch of times in my life, that I probably didn't pay attention enough, because I tend to jump quicker. Then, I jump because probably I have that attention thing. And I always come from the world of everybody means well, which is probably wrong. But, life goes on, and I end up learning more sometimes. For everybody who stole all my money, guess what? For everybody who stole my money in the past, I say thank you to everyone. Because they stole all my money because I wasn't present, I ended up being here today because I found somebody else, or I went down another path. And that's why I'm here today, for all those people who stole my thousands of dollars. So thank you to all those people.
I love that. And since we're talking about presence, we're also, and I'm going to superimpose that now, so don't stop me. I'm going to superimpose that. We're also talking partially about prejudice. And I think Mo actually started it by saying, people are watching. I love talking about that because we're all judging all the time, right? So I'm going to go to the beautiful Michelle. And the reason why I'm going to Michelle is because she's a woman, if you haven't noticed. And we know that very often, as a woman CEO, there are some assumptions. So how important is it for you to be present? How important is it for you to read or ignore what you know about body language, Michelle?
Oh my gosh, this topic. First off, I could do a whole hour on my own on this topic with my experience. I'll say I started opening these different franchises, and I would have someone come in and they would be like, "Can I speak with the owner?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, like this. Yes, I'm here. I'd be, hello, nice to meet you. I'm the owner. How can I support you? How can I serve you?" And a lot of times it would be like, and they would be looking around like, like they wanted somebody else. And I was just like, wow. So being present and not judging, first and foremost, has been a really powerful teacher to me alone, just because of how much I know I've been judged just by how I look, that people can discredit and different, so I learned really quickly to be present and to listen and consider what I'm being, told, not just looking them up and down. Because a lot of times too, the most successful, wealthiest people will show up in some shorts and a t-shirt, Yep. And if you're really quick to judge and create this story in your brain and your mind about who you think they are, what you think they do, and then just look past them, like you could be looking past a blessing that was sent to really transform your life, your business, whatever it may be. So presence is definitely key. And I'll even share something that I do that really supports me with being present. Because I tend to, like, I'm a thinker. I'm very deep. I'm very, my mind is very all the time going. And one of the things I do is I don't know if you've heard of box breathing, but I'll share it with you guys, or you can even try it. So you basically just take a deep breath in for 4 seconds. So you take a breath in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you hold it. And then you breathe out for 6 seconds. So releasing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this actually slows the nervous system. This is something I practice multiple times a day. Like, even I went 90 trying to make it here in time for the show because I was at a different event. And when I got here, and I'm like, okay, I got to do this, right? My brain was kind of everywhere. And I'm like, got to get present and grounded for what I'm about to be going into. So presence, practicing box breathing, just like that. So breathing in for 4 seconds, breathing out for 6 seconds, breathing in for 4, breathe out for 6. And literally you will feel the body just calm down in itself. You'll feel the thoughts just calm down in themselves and then bring you to the present moment. So I practice that. And I practice gratitude to bring my presence here. As I'm like, I'm so grateful for this. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to rush here, that I have this much going on in my life. I'm grateful for, and I literally would just go into like a gratitude spiral if I can create that, because it brings me to this present moment to where I'm not thinking in the past of what maybe could have gone different, what I should have done different, or in the future, but okay, so this could happen, right? That's like stress. That's like not being present in the moment and not being grounded in the body. So I really practice presence all the time. It's a daily practice for me.
Awesome. And I want to hand it over to Mr. Ori Spado, because we're not just talking about presence, we're not just talking about trust and integrity, but also awareness. And I believe that in your former line of business, the way former one, and then the second to former one, and then now, you need to be very, very aware of who is around you, who's looking, who's not looking. So how do you feel about collaboration in the sense of being aware and being able to judge or make the right decisions?
Well, this would take an entire show, probably a couple, okay? But to put it in a nutshell, in my former life, since I was a child, I was taught, okay, to always know my surroundings. Today, I walk into a restaurant. I glance, I summarize it. I know who's sitting, where they're sitting, and then I analyze who they are. Okay, and then I'll position myself where I want to be. All right, if I'm walking down the street and I see a tree, okay, you got to follow that tree right around. Okay, reason by because somebody could be behind the tree as you walk past it, they can come behind you. Okay, so you got to be aware of everything. I'd like to go back to what Rex said because my head is still spinning. First of all, Rex, you were giving the polygraph to the wrong people. Okay, because the DEA and the FBI are the ones who, with the RICO Act, were given the authorization to lie and get away with it. Let's put this real quick, folks. I walk into a room and I meet Jeremy over there. I'm going to like him or not like him in the first few seconds. I'm going to be able to read him in the very first few seconds. But one thing Jeremy said, and you've all heard me say this a million times, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you do twice as much listening and talking. I also trained a lot of salesmen, Jeremy, and I taught that right on, okay? Because silence is golden sometimes. But when you read people, first of all, you got to be there. In today's world, everything's being done by the computers, by cell phones, and I got 5,000 friends on Facebook. I got 5,000 friends here. I got 60,000. Come on. Do you really know what a friend is? Do you really seriously know what a friend is? Most people don't. It's a shame that in today's world, the people think their friends are these people on Facebook. They're not. You don't go out to dinner with these people. You're not going to the movie theater with them. So you got to be aware of everybody. You talk about collaboration, but take a look around here, you only see one person. That's me. I don't collaborate that much. I try not to nowadays because I'm the type of person, if something's got to be done, I'm going to do it because I know if I did it, it gets done. However, going back to the movies, it began with me and a writer. Only me and the writer. Once the writer was finished, it went out to a producer and director. And then the 5 of us started collaborating. Now it's out to other people, bringing in more people. And it's just going to grow and mushroom until the final curtains come up. Okay, and you see it on the screen. And, it's not something that happens overnight. We're lucky if it's on the screens next year because you have to work around the schedules of the actors. Okay, you don't know who's available, when they're available. Okay, it's a tough job. It's not an easy job. So it takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of time. But, forget the polygraph test. I'll go with my gut against a polygraph test any day of the week. And that's what Ori Spader's got to say. And I'll guarantee, because I fixed polygraph tests, Mr. Sykes. I got the people to fix them. So I don't believe in them.
Well, I want to thank Sally Green in the virtual auditorium who just got Ori's book. I can't wait to read it. If you do get the book, I hope you visit theaccidentalgangster.com so you can get it directly from Ori so you'll sign it for free. Ori, you talked about restaurants. I'm not going to share what happened when you got reservations for us to go to a restaurant in Beverly Hills and we walked in there and suddenly the hostess tried to claim that you did not get reservations. That's a story that we're going to share for another day. But what I want to point out, if Ori Spado makes a reservation, let's just hope your team and staff will follow through because it was something fascinating for me to witness. That's all I'll say. With that, go ahead, Rex. Rex, please.
Well, I wanted to point out, the polygraph testing can be rigged. I mean, I can teach anybody how to beat a polygraph machine. but I can also teach you how to do this with your eyes closed or on the telephone or with back-to-back. I mean, you can learn to calibrate people and develop your awareness. What I'm going to say about Ori, and I'm going to project onto Ori, but I'm going to guess that Ori's background and his experience and his former occupation were such that he got really, 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 really good at reading people, because that was part of what he needed to do to thrive and survive. And to not have those skills would have meant putting himself in jeopardy or danger. So, I mean, my hat is off to Ori, because I believe Ori. If Ori says I don't trust this person, I would go.
Absolutely. And here's what I want to add to that, Rex. In Ori's case, it was literally life or death. But as entrepreneurs, you need. But here's the thing: as entrepreneurs, you need to have that same level of rigor, that same level of awareness, and that same level of understanding, especially in today's market. That's a global market, where people from all around the world are competing with you, and in a market that is hyper competitive and moving at a Mach 10 speed. I just also found out from the back channels that Colleen Diggs also purchased Ori's book. So Colleen, I hope you got it from his website so he can go ahead and sign it for you, as opposed to Amazon. And with that, we're wrapping up the show, folks. We're at the last.
Can I just
yes, please, Rex, go ahead.
The other thing that you heard Ori say that it's a true skill is how he assesses things. If he goes into a restaurant, he notices what's there, he notices who's there, he notices where to position himself, or if he's going down the street. And this is really wise and good information for everybody. If you're walking down the street, notice your surroundings so that you're not taken by surprise if that's going to happen. So there's an astuteness there that Ori exudes based on, his past as well as his present, but there are skills that we all can use in business as well as in life every single day. So with that, all due respect to Ori, I'm sorry I'm taking the time to make an extra point, but thank you for that.
Well, what I'd like to do, Rex, I'd like to actually create a debate.
I got a message that I like to put out of something that's going out here in Los Angeles and maybe other parts of the country. And it's happening to a lot of women. It happened to a woman that I know last week in a good area of town, in a premier grocery store. Be very careful, ladies, where you go into a grocery store, you put your purse into the cart. People are robbing the wallets before you get out of that store. They're charging things, so be very careful. It's happening all over here in Los Angeles, and I just wanted to put that warning out to all you ladies and men.
Mr. Ori Spado, always protecting the ladies. Ori, you're like the Batman up in the sky, just making sure everyone is safe. So I'm going to give everybody the floor to share your final thoughts on today's subject matter, where we're heading in the last 10-15 minutes of the program. So every single speaker here is going to have the floor. You're going to have the solo view so you can share and kind of close us out with your own mini keynote. And I'm going to start off with Jeremy. Jeremy, please, the floor is yours. Share whatever's in your heart, whatever you're inspired to share with our audience is your final word. Jeremy, the storytelling alchemist. And don't forget to plug your show.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mo. So I guess I'll just leave everybody with this thought. There's been a lot of great wisdom talked about here. And one of them, I think the most important, is to be present. And, when we're not present, we miss things. And that doesn't just have to do with collaboration or trusting people. We have to be present just for ourselves as well. That's interactions not only in business, but in our personal life and in our relationships with everybody. That helps enrich your life, to be present. And like Ori said, we're all connected to Facebook and worrying about our friends or the people that are connected with us. But the truth is, it's about the moments we have with people and connection with them, besides of social media. Social media has its purpose, but the real connection with people is what brings our life fulfillment. And I think that's some of the best things we can think about. And then my show is on Wednesday nights and on the Roku TV for the LA Tribune TV as well, the Storytelling Alchemist show. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Jeremy. Let's go ahead and hear Albert's final word. Albert, the final word. Go ahead.
Why is my mic's not?
No, go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thank everybody for having me. And I'm a tax guy for almost 40 years and 80,000 tax returns later. And you really got it. Success in life is connections. You know, you got to always connect. And once you connect, the good things happen. And as you start, you know, you're going to collaborate. But the first step is you got to go and connect. You got to get out in the world and say, what's up? Say hi. And you're going to, you know, grow. In fact, this is a connection through one of my good friends, Carlos. And even me and you, Mo, we met a couple of days ago on Clubhouse. Why? Because we're out there connection. And once you get connections, the collaborations will come. You know, and that's what I've been doing for almost 4 decades and 80,000 returns.
You're absolutely right. And thank you for being with us, Albert. We appreciate that. Ori Spado, I'm going to give you the floor. I want you to speak from your heart and let us know what we've got to do when it comes to collaborating. Orlando Spado, or I like Ori Spado. Some people call him Ori Spado. I like Spado. I think has a better rhyme and a better ring. So Ori Spado, please, the floor is yours.
Just don't call me late for dinner, Mo. Okay. I think I said it all. What more can I say? on collaboration. You know, I mean, look at, we're all adults here. You know, I learned a lot on the streets, but I was a salesperson. I learned a lot as a salesperson because, like the tax man was just saying, you got to mingle. You got to meet people. And, you know, it's not that you got to trust everybody you do it. Everybody's got good intentions. So, you know, you got to give it your best. I met a lot of great people in Clubhouse. Mo, I met a lot of great people through you. And, you know, it's a snowball. I think you're meeting good people through me. I hope you are. And, you know, look at, I mean, here we are with another salesman over here. I love salesmen. I love salesmen. Because sales is truly an art that's overlooked by many people. And that's why very few salesmen are successful. And I'm happy to make note that I have made many a salesperson independently wealthy. So on that note, it's all about going in, being present, communicating. I'm still an old timer. I got to do something. I still want with somebody. I want to meet that person. I want to shake their hand. I want to look in their eyes, and I want to listen to what they say. And if people talk too much, I walk away.
That's a great point, Ori. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have had a meeting or met with someone and they just start blabbing away. It's like, I'm like, hi, how are you? And then you talk for 19 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I just have to go now. So, you know, I just a piece of advice for those entrepreneurs. When you make a meeting with someone, don't start going into some presentation right away. Don't start trying to sell yourself right away or try to get me all excited. It's not going to work. You know, just be a human being and be normal and just like talk to me like a human being, first of all, so I know who you are. And then we can see what will happen naturally. But too often I see people, aspiring entrepreneurs or whatever, trying to force things. And that's a turnoff. Like if you're trying to force something and you're not very good at it, you know, you got to connect on a human level first and foremost, right? So that's just a little tidbit. And with that, I'm going to give it to Rex Steven Sykes for his closing.
One more thing I do want to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
Be on time.
Yeah, be punctual.
On time.
You're absolutely right.
I'm not on time. I'm always 15 minutes early for an appointment. Right. When I came down to meet you, I had to drive down to Newport Beach. Was I early? I was there waiting for you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
You live in Los Angeles. You don't make people traffic was bad. Hey, moron, you live here.
Right.
You know traffic's bad. You plan for it.
Absolutely. And quite frankly, Ori, if someone is too late to a meeting, I think it's saying something.
Yeah, that's a slap in the face.
It's a slap in the face, I
Yeah.
mean, but with that being said, someone that doesn't slap anyone in the face, a very non-violent man, Mr. Rex Steven Sykes, who is a very peace-loving gentleman. I'm going to give him the floor to hear his thoughts as we wrap up this week's show. Please, Rex. Hold on.
That's because I spent my life walking on rice paper, and so I just tiptoe around with David Carradine. But actually, I think
I caught the Kung Fu reference, even if no one else did.
yeah, well, I had to make it obvious after a moment, I realized. But I think the main point is that we all can up-level our game. We can be more aware of the people and our surroundings. We can pay attention, which is what a lot of people don't do. They want to talk, they don't want to listen. They want to demonstrate or show who they are, as opposed to allow other people that luxury first. And I can promise you, if you allow other people to communicate first to you, and you listen with positive intent to gain understanding and to elicit from them information, you'll connect with them in ways that most people won't. And the ability to collaborate means you're able to extend your reach, because other people have money, they have time, they have talent, they've got ideas, they've got connections that you won't have. So if you can connect with them and be a person of value to them and add to them, then all of what they have can be added to you as well. So collaborating means we can move, completely around the globe together. Just think about all the stuff it takes to get, food into a supermarket, and how many different people have to be working together in the machinery in order to do that. Well, think about it, as not all of that is smooth and not all of that works well. Think about what you want to do with your connections and how you'd like that to work as a well-oiled machine, with not only that it's a machine, but that you have that personal touch, so that you can enjoy the relationships and enjoy the people and add qualitatively to them and to yourself at the same time. And with that, I appreciate the time being here today.
Thank you so much, Rex Sykes. And let's go ahead and give the floor to the lovely Colleen Biggs, who always has something powerful to share with us. So grab your pencils, grab your paper. Colleen Biggs, please, the floor is yours.
Mo, thank you so much. The last thing I wanted to share, which I'm on board with what everyone else has spoken about tonight, but the main thing for me is we need to not judge a book by its cover, and we need to meet people where they're at. It's all about giving that respect to other people and not judging them, and treating people the way that we would want to be treated. All of the advice that was given tonight was pretty profound. And I mean, really, we're the only people that, you're the only you that's ever been, you're the only you that will ever be. So stop trying to be someone else, stop trying to be something you're not, and just bring what God gave you to the table and be that unique person, and collaborate with those that you desire to collaborate with, but do it with honesty and integrity, and treat others exactly the way you would want to be treated, and really dive into those relationships. And that's really what I wanted to share with you tonight in closing. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate that insight. Let's go now to Miss Michelle McClain. Michelle, what are your closing words? Go ahead.
So I think it's really important to be clear on your intention. So the intention of what is this collaboration going to be creating? So intention, and is this a win-win? Does it feel good both ways? How does this feel? It's where one is not depleted, like you're not depleted, the other person's not depleted, where it genuinely is a win-win. And then knowing your risk. I think this isn't something we've really presenced, is what is there a risk, especially if it's in business, considering what are the different areas. And this is actually really, I'm creating this right now in my life in an area that I'm looking at. What is the risk of collaborating with this person? And really taking the time to look at all the areas of even blind spots I may or may not have in this area. So to consider all the different possible risks, and then what can I do to prepare myself, to protect myself, just if something like that did come about. I think just preparation of looking at what is the risk for the collaboration. Like I said, if it's business, something, not like, obviously not like a clubhouse room, probably something a little more, important. So looking at the risk, having the intention set, and then keeping in mind, you're not always a prophet in your own town. a lot of times, like your own tribe, your own people, sometimes they can get used to what you have to say. So having someone collaborate with you, another brilliant mind to co-sign on the things you've already said, can open up people's listening in a different area that they may not have heard you say. So a lot of people are scared to collaborate with people who are like businesses, you know, like maybe you guys have the same business, but if you did do a clubhouse room together and kind of cross-pollinated, you know, like set up a big party together, you may take a little bit from theirs and they may take a little bit from yours. Like it actually could be a really, really special combination, you know, so not being lack-minded, you know, being abundant-minded, not coming from scarcity, because I think a lot of times it can come from scarcity that we're like, oh, well, if they're in the same business as I am or something, you know, we can have this lack mindset. But if we're thinking abundantly, in an abundant mindset that there's enough for all of us, you can attract your own tribe from all different areas of life, from all different, you know, all different groups. So it's been amazing to be on here with you guys.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And what I'll add before we give it to Dr. Natalie Forrest, when it comes to collaboration, the way I see it is there has to be a match of values. The values have to be in alignment. But I can't know if your values are in alignment with my values if I don't know my values. And you would be surprised how many people don't even know what their own values are. I've asked a lot of people over the course of my life, hey, what are your top 5 values? You'd be surprised how long they give me a blank stare. And so ultimately, we have to begin with knowing ourselves, as the ancient Greeks would say, know thyself, self-awareness, be very aware of who you are or who I am. And then I'm in a position where I can really assess who's aligned with my values and who's not. And so ultimately, what I would add to this is it's not an esoteric or mystical principle. It's a very practical business principle of knowing yourself, first and foremost. And with that, I want to give it to Dr. Natalie Forrest to give us her final words. And Dr. Natalie Forrest, I'm really anxious and excited to hear what you have to say. Because for those that may not know, Dr. Natalie Forrest is like a human calculator / computer with a heart, because she just every single word is like a machine in that brain of hers. I think I don't know what your IQ is, Natalie, but it has to be up near 200. And so I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this conversation. Dr. Natalie Forrest, please.
First question, Mo, are you judging me? Like, are you making an assumption? I do want to say that I think values are the most important alignment, and that it's a win-win-win. And I think sometimes it's lessons that we need to learn. You know, Rex and I, we talk a lot about, and Jeremy and I as well, about the fact that life is happening for us and not to us. So everybody in my life, whether or not it ended up a win-win-win or maybe just a win for them, I've learned something. And so very often I know I'm being misinterpreted because I am extremely aware, but I don't necessarily show it. So I walk in a room just like Ori does, and I know exactly where everybody is, but that doesn't mean, you know, I have to flaunt it or I have to say, oh, over there's this person. So I think what we're talking about when it comes to collaboration is be you, be present, and live that. And Michelle started earlier by saying, you know, is this person this way or that way, depending on the situation? So as long as you know who you are you, and you are present in the moment, you're always you. So you're in full integrity. And then nobody can misjudge you. And if they do, then that's on them. And it's their loss. So I think that's what we're talking about here. And here at the end, I want to throw 2 more things in, Mo. And you know I had to do that. So number 1 is, remember, we are, as the LA Tribune, collaborating because we believe in a win-win. We believe that you can go fast alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. So we're going together, of course. We're also going together with Colleen, who is doing a LEAP event. So there are events coming up that we're collaborating on. Why? Because it's the message, it's the impact. If you want to be real, know the difference between a real leader, a friend, and an acquaintance. And it is something that I love that Ori brought up, the difference between a friend and an acquaintance, because that's something that I'm teaching my daughter every single day. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Natalie Forrest. And that really is a powerful distinction, really understanding friend versus acquaintance. And I don't use that term friend lightly. And I encourage others not to either. And just in closing, I want to quickly remind people that if you go to theaccidentalgangster.com and you order the book, you're going to get it signed and autographed for free. And you're also going to get the audiobook sent to you for free. In my opinion, this is one of the greatest books I've read in the last few years. I mean, it is exciting, it is entertaining, but it's also very educational and insightful. You'd be surprised how many life lessons a person garners in the mafia, and then how you can use it in your life and in your business. It's really fun to read. So go to theaccidentalgangster.com to get it. And I really think when you add up all the things you're getting, it really is an offer that you just can't refuse. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this week's program. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everyone in the virtual auditorium and our guests. Until next week, this has been a presentation of the Los Angeles Tribune. And I want to thank our friends at Roku TV. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for meeting you all.